Hello everybody, happy Sunday. Thank you for being here. Appreciate those of you that are here in any capacity as always. So we are into May now, coming full into spring up here in the northern hemisphere where I am. So I really like that. I had a good weekend. I hope everybody else has too. Coming through the Venus-Neptune conjunction, we're just coming off of that. So maybe there was some fun, enjoyable, and lighthearted energy in that for you through the weekend. And now we move into a new week with a new intention. So I'm going to go ahead and put that up. Each week we have an intention that is released on Friday. That is ahead of the weekly video on Saturday. And then that is ahead of our live meditation on Sunday. So really trying to set up for good ways to look into the energies of the week, lean into them, contemplate on them, and prepare for just what is, just being aware of what is coming. And that is part of our intention here this week too, the word aware, and just having some awareness and some connection, and just having that conscious connection to things, whether it's the astrological transits that are going on, or the atmosphere and the mood of other people around you, or the activities that are coming ahead, or the actual physical weather, the things that you're going to encounter within a day. Just having an awareness and being just knowing of things, it helps, right? It helps you prepare, or just not maybe be caught so off guard. It's not necessarily that we can always change things that are happening based on the astrology in our lives. If things are hitting in a certain area, they're going to hit a certain area. If they're meant to trigger certain events, then they're meant to trigger certain events. But at the same time, I believe that there are definitely ways that we can lean into the energies, we can work with the energies, we can plan accordingly to the energies, just as we would for the weather outside. If it's raining, you're going to carry an umbrella. If it's cold, you're going to wear your coat. So just being aware, I think that there's a lot of great benefit into that. So trying to set up that for the week. And here is our intention for this week, driven by the astrology. It's a little bit of a quiet week compared to weeks that we've had, but here's our intention on the screen if you haven't seen it yet. I am aware of subtle energies. I am aware of subtle energies. So like I said, intention's always released at the beginning of the weekend, so that way you can have it while you are listening to the weekly video, which goes much more in depth than we do here. We might not even always touch on all of the transits here Sunday nights now that we have the video that comes out Saturday, so that really is your full day-by-day breakdown. And then the intention is guided by the way that the astrology speaks to guiding us throughout the week. We could have different intentions. They could be changed. There are other intentions that we could have, just as in how there are many different ways that one single astrological transit can play out for different people. Same thing. You could have lots of different intentions if you focus it more specifically on your own chart, or looking at things from a little bit different angle. Things like that. But this is the intention that we have for this week, and we have a few things that we're going to talk about that have went into this. So just sitting with this intention for just a moment here, whether or not this is the first time that you've heard it, and just see what comes up. I am aware of subtle energy. I am aware of subtle energy. Any thoughts, feelings, emotions, anything it makes you want to do, anything that it makes you not want to do. Just coming to this meditative space is connecting with a subtle energy. It's slowing us down. It's coming into a space where we are tuning out the outside world to some degree. We are tuning into our breath. We are focusing on that subtle breath that is around us all the time. And we have a little bit of that coming in with this week here. So I'm going to go ahead and put up the chart. We've been doing that for a while now, and it seems to be helpful. This is the chart of right now. It is set to my location and to the current time of the live meditation, currently 8:37 p.m. Eastern Time, Sunday night, May 4th. House placements may be different depending on where you are located, so we're not necessarily using the house placements here within this chart except maybe just to locate what sign is in a certain area, to be able to locate the glyphs and just see what is going on here. So paying attention just to the placements of the planets and the interactions that they are making. We only have just a couple aspects that are going on, and they are happening at the beginning of the week. The first thing to point out here is that we have Pluto stationing to go retrograde. You will see Pluto at 3 degrees of Aquarius in the 4th house in this chart. So if you find the numbers in the center circle and you find the number 4, it's at the bottom, and that is the 4th house within this chart. You will see the glyph for Pluto next to the with the number 3 just above it there, and at the very top you'll see the red S. That is for stationing. So Pluto is currently stationing to go retrograde and will be within the next day or so, will be fully retrograde. This is something that we're going to have through October. So when the slower planets go retrograde, they last a lot longer than the faster moving planets such as Mercury or Venus or even Mars, which we have just recently went through. So this is a long process. This is a process of turning inward. This is maybe one of the points where we start to reflect on how Pluto in the sign of Aquarius is starting to show up for us in these beginning degrees. So through these next 6 months or so, there's going to be this turning inward, this reflections, maybe some sort of inward struggle of some kind, but there's going to be this slow building movement towards considering what has been playing out for us, what has been transforming, what house is Aquarius in your own chart, and how have things been shifting there for you and the space that is around you. This is a slow process. Like I said, it's going to take us through October. So what comes up through the Pluto retrograde can be very loud, can be very transforming and very much regenerating energy, but at the same time, it can be a slow process. So it can be a slow turning of the wheels of where we start to think a little bit differently, we start to reflect on the changes and what has been brought up below the surface, what has been brought up for us to see in Aquarius, what Pluto is showing us, where it's showing us things that might need to be cleaned out a little bit and where there is space for something new to be created. We have that death and rebirth within Pluto for sure, and that regeneration. So a lot of times where we have Pluto moving, there will be a deep transformation. It's a slow process. Pluto is going to be in Aquarius for like 16 years here. So it's a slow process, but that's where the subtle part of our intention comes in here, at least as far as Pluto stationing to go retrograde. The retrograde process can start out slow, it can be subtle, but it can be transforming. It can slowly creep in until you cannot avoid or deny what is coming up. So maybe slowly we start to think about things, and our mind starts to kind of shift in the way that we perceive the things that Pluto and Aquarius are bringing up. If you look at the house topics, then it might be a little bit more specific, but chances are we can think about the things that are shifting and changing and where that mental shift is happening. It's an air sign, and where we can see the mental shift within a specific area. So like for me, it is my 4th house. I'm a Scorpio rising. So the sign of Aquarius, what is changing within my own private sphere, within my own home life, and within my own private family, within my roots and my ancestry. And then whatever house it falls in for you, what type of things are shifting? What kind of transformations have been shown? It can be subtle. This is the first part of Pluto in Aquarius. It's really still just kind of newly entered Aquarius, considered how long it's going to spend there. So it can still be kind of subtle in things that we don't see very, very loudly. It can be loud. It can be that some people have already had loud, explosive things happening, especially if you have, if it's hitting personal planets and things like that in conjunction or specifically like hard aspects and things like that. But for a lot of people, it's a slow build and it's a slow burn into a transformation. And then afterwards you think, wow, things have really shifted. Things have really, really changed. So we have Pluto stationing to go retrograde. That's the first thing that we're looking at this week here. And then we have a couple sextiles that are coming through this week. We have Mercury in the sign of Aries, which is in the 6th house in this chart. It's currently at 21 degrees of Aries. So if you find the number 6 in the middle, the number 21, that will be Mercury for you there. And it's making a sextile to Jupiter at 22 degrees of Gemini. And then right about the same time, we have Venus, which is coming off of that conjunction with Neptune at 2 degrees of Aries, also in the same 6th house that Mercury is in, is that next glyph down, is making a sextile to Pluto in the sign of Aquarius. So that stationing Pluto is getting a sextile from Venus. And then if we take this forward, we will see how quickly we're going to just move one day at a time here. Sorry, I'm going to back up so I can show you. We're looking at back at Mercury at 21 degrees. If we move it forward by the end of the week here, we will see that Mercury shifts into the sign of Taurus. So that's our other aspect that we are looking at here this week. Note that Mercury, as it enters the sign of Taurus, it's going to be in the same sign as the Sun for a short little while, and it's going to be in the same sign as Uranus. It's going to make a conjunction to Uranus in the sign of Taurus. It's not going to conjoin the Sun in Taurus. It's going to conjoin it in Gemini, which is Mercury's own sign. So that's something to just kind of keep in mind in the background. So these are aspects that we are looking at this week. We have Pluto stationing to go retrograde, which is a slow, long process. We have Venus making a sextile to Pluto, and we have Mercury making a sextile to Jupiter. Those are the aspects that we are looking at that are playing into our intention and that we are building into this week. So those are the things that we're going to talk about. Now, we have retrograde, we have Mercury changing signs into Taurus at the end of the week, and we have 2 sextile aspects. Really compared to how much we've had going on lately, that is not a whole lot going on in 1 week. So the energy may feel kind of subtle just because of the sheer number of aspects that we've had going on, especially if they're hitting your chart in specific ways. There's been a lot of energy that has not been subtle lately. So this may feel a little bit more quiet. Also, the sextile aspect is of the nature of Jupiter. It's a beneficial aspect, so there is a helping hand within here, but at the same time, it's not the loudest aspect. And Venus and Mercury, they are both picking up speed and moving a little bit faster, so they're kind of quick moving aspects. Some of our Venus and Mercury aspects lately have been slow moving because they went through that retrograde period, and they made a lot of aspects at their stationing periods where they were moving very, very slowly. So this may feel almost like you might almost miss it until after they happen type aspects this week. However, they are both helpful and they are beneficial aspects. When we have Mercury and Jupiter coming together, it's the mental sphere that is expanding some way. You have Mercury, the planet of our mind, thoughts, communication, perceptions. It's still in the sign of Aries. It's moving quickly. It's motivated to start and initiate new processes, new routines, new habits, new explorations of questions and information coming through. And then when it comes into this quick, maybe subtle but helpful aspect of Jupiter, things can expand. We can see a broader picture than we've had before. I think the I am aware is a very Jupiterian type, especially Jupiter in the sign of Gemini, where it's like Jupiter is the planet of wisdom, knowledge, knowledge and like higher knowing informations. And then it's in the sign of Gemini, it's in Mercury sign, it's in the air sign of information, of wanting to bring in lots of little details and understanding lots of different things. So when you have Jupiter in Gemini, where it's been, there's lots of information and lots of different avenues for information to come in. We can get lots of different perspectives, we can broaden our perspective, and we can expand our mental sphere in some way here. We can communicate well. We might be able to communicate maybe a little bit too well, and maybe we're saying a little bit too much, so just kind of being aware of that. But really the sextiles are helpful, beneficial aspects. At the same time, Venus and Pluto are coming together in the same subtle, quick moving sextile, beneficial, like helping hand type aspect. So when you have Venus and Pluto coming together, there is a strength and a power that is coming to Venus. Venus in the sign of Aries is very self-driven. She's self-motivated. She might be a little bit hard-headed. She might be a little quick to act, but she is motivated. She can initiate energy, just like Mercury in the sign of Aries. But it's the desires, it's the things that we want, and the things that bring us harmony. So she is motivated and she is fired up to fulfill her wishes and to bring in things that will bring peace and harmony and balance and make her feel stable, make her feel secure, make her feel heard, make her feel that her desires and what she wants, what she needs is met. When she comes into contact with Pluto, things start to come up that might be a little bit subtle because they are unseen type things. When Venus reaches into the hands of Pluto, she is reaching below the surface, she's reaching into the darker areas, and that just might be that we are receiving some sort of energy is coming our way that is giving us something that is helpful and beneficial that maybe we didn't expect. So something that, maybe has been in the sphere as a helpful tool, but we didn't really notice how we could utilize it. I can see that type of energy coming through here this week. And with the sextile coming through as Pluto is stationing to go retrograde just after Venus's whole retrograde process here, it's almost like with Pluto stationing to go retrograde and going with that inward regenerative energy where we are starting to reflect inwardly and we are considering the things that have come up for us and we are starting to reflect on them and we are starting to see the shifts and we're starting to see the changes. Venus is right there giving a beneficial hand because that's what Venus likes to do. She likes to be helpful. She likes to make things feel better. She likes to comfort. She likes to she likes to make us feel comfortable, make us feel held, make us feel secure. In the sign of Aries, she wants to make us feel empowered. She wants us to feel secure and comfortable in our own power, in our own strength, in our own autonomy. So if we start to reflect on these things that are coming up for us, and we have Venus here that is saying, hey, you can stand on your own 2 feet. You can look at these things that are coming up for you. You can look at the demons that are coming through if that's what it feels like it is, or you can find the strength within you to move forward and handle whatever the thing is that has been in front of you. That energy can come through as a kind of slowly and subtly, but then it turns into that thing where it's like, okay, you can't deny it anymore. There it is. I am aware of this subtle energy that is creeping in and this strength and this power that I'm feeling within me. I am aware of this expansion of the mind that is slowly creeping in here and just popping in for a minute, popping back out. Like I said, these sextiles can move pretty quickly here. And they start out at the beginning of the week as well. Then, by the end of the week, Mercury moves into the sign of Taurus. Mercury's going to be in Taurus for about 3 weeks, the sign of Venus. Excuse me. She's going to have something to say about Venus in the sign of Mercury's going to have something to say about Venus in the sign of Aries, and Venus is going to have something to say about Mercury in the sign of Taurus here. So we're still in that. There's a lot of energy in the first part of this year of like finding our own peace and comfort and standing up for ourselves and doing the work for us rather than for others. There's a lot of this autonomous Aries initiating energy, and that is often the path of like going out alone, going your own way. And maybe you don't quite have all the tools right away because Aries sometimes can just start to initiate, but there's a lot of that energy built in. And we have Mercury moving into the sign of Taurus, which is going to want peace, it's going to want stability, it's going to want to bring harmony, but at the same time, it wants to do that for itself. Okay, so it's like we're tending to the energies within our own space in a way. Or maybe we are trying to empower others to stand within their own energy in some sort of way. But Mercury in the sign of Taurus is going to want to provide that stability. It's going to want to provide a space for things to grow, for proliferation. It wants to create a space where there can be comfort in order to grow. Taurus is the earth sign of Venus. So it's that material world, it's those physical things sometimes, and those mundane things. So it's providing the space for things to grow, for things to proliferate. It's the sign of Venus. So it wants things to be able to settle the roots, but then be able to expand at the same time, right? Very Taurian. And Mercury being there, it's our mind, it's our thoughts, it's the way we think. So wanting to find peace of mind, but Mercury answering to Venus in the sign of Aries too. So it's that Aryan, fiery type way. Where can we find peace and comfort while still standing up for ourselves and moving forward in the ways that we want to be moving forward. These energies can all creep in kind of subtly this week, but they can be very helpful, very, very beneficial. I could see this being a week where things just kind of start to flow together. Flow was another word that I wanted to bring into this intention, but I didn't quite fit it in there, so that's another word that you could play with here if you wanted to. But the awareness of this subtle energy that we have coming in, and the helpful hand that it can show us, the ways that tools and resources can come our way, and things start to just flow. It's like where things just kind of work out. So maybe it's like if Mercury and Jupiter feel like there's a lot going on within your mind, and maybe that could be a little overwhelming for a moment, but then you just kind of like move through the process of all the different things, and you start to organize the things, and you start to get through the task list that you have, and you start to, cross things off of your checklist. And then by the end of the day, you just realize that you might have been really busy, but you were also really productive, and the things just kind of worked and flowed for you to be able to get the things done. And then you look back and you think, wow, that was slightly easier than I thought it was going to be. I could see where this week just kind of works out that way for many people. But I like this intention, and I like this energy of being able to just kind of listen and have the subtle energy coming in. When I was looking up the definition for subtle, it's like hard to notice, intricate, very specific or precise, delicate, detail, specific type things. Those words all feel very Mercury, Jupiter to me, and they also feel like they could be very Plutonian to me as well. And then, Mercury in Aries has been moving with both Mercury and Venus in the sign of Aries. Thoughts could be moving really fast. Motivations could be moving really fast. We could be like feeling really motivated and then feeling kind of burnt out kind of quickly, and maybe like we're quick to start, but we don't have the follow through. We don't have the energy to be able to get through, or maybe just the tools and the resources, or maybe we just didn't think things through quite all the way. As Mercury moves into the sign of Taurus, things calm down a little bit. We start to find that we're not burning the candle at both ends quite as much. Venus is still there for a little while, but Mercury in the sign of Taurus feels like it's going to set the stage for Mercury in the sign of Gemini, which I really, really like the new moon and the Mercury Cazimi that we have in the sign of Gemini coming up. So it feels there's some good restarts coming up for Mercury in the sign of Gemini. And Mercury moving through the sign of Taurus for these about 3 weeks until May 25th that we have Mercury in Taurus, feels like it's going to be slowing our mind for the reset. So it's like, okay, things have been moving really, really busy. Maybe it feels like you haven't quite had enough time, or like I said, burning the candle at both ends and just feeling like you're really just go, 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 go. Maybe you don't have quite enough time. Mercury moves into Taurus. You can stop and smell the flowers, at least a little bit. You're in that place of Venus, so you are wanting to find that comfort. You're wanting to find that stability. You're wanting to find that harmony within the mental sphere. Venus still in Aries, so still motivated to move. I feel like it makes it a little less sluggish, maybe a little less, I don't know, we have the stereotype of lazy, right? So like maybe you can find a good balance of moving forward, but also allowing yourself to rest and also allowing yourself to take the time to notice what is around you, and have a little bit of balance there. Have a little that brings like a good finesse with it if we can do that. So that's what we have for the astrology of this week, playing into the intention. I like this. I like this slowdown of energy that we have here for this week. And it feels like maybe it could kind of temper some of the possibly overwhelming energy that we've had going on here this week. And the tarot card that came up this week is the Ten of Wands. So, speaking of overwhelming energy, when we have the Ten of Wands, that means that we have been carrying a lot. There's a lot of wands. There's 10 of them. That's the most that you could have, right? So when you're carrying all of these different things, you've been juggling a lot. You've been having a lot of different things going on at one time, and it almost might feel like the levee's about to break in a way. However, the 10 is the number of completion. So it means that pretty soon you can set those wands down and you can pick up those motivations one thing at a time and not feel like you have to juggle 100 things all at one time. That's not saying that that's the feeling that everybody has right now, because with the astrology that we've had going on lately, and with this card coming up, it's telling me that there's a lot of people that just really feel like there's a lot of irons in the fire all at one time. But that only lasts so long. So as Mercury moves towards Taurus, maybe we can pull ourselves away from a point of burnout or overexertion, if that's been the case. Or, maybe it's not that we've been working too hard and we're in a place of burnout. Like, hopefully that's not the case, right? Hopefully we at least have this, we are able to have the endurance to move forward as much as we need to until we are able to rest or whatnot in our own situations. But, it might just be where if things have been moving really fast and really, really productive, now you're able to just kind of reap the benefits. You're able to take your time because of like all of the work and all the organization that you've done. So maybe now you can rest a little bit and just breathe, take a deep breath. So it doesn't have to be that things have been too much or overwhelming, but a slowdown is always good for everybody, right? So that's what we have this week, and that's what we're going to lean into, is this subtle energy. So it's going to be slow moving. I'm going to just I want to leave a lot of the energies of how these are going to show up for us up to the universe, and up to just having an awareness of seeing how they show up for us this week. There's a lot more details in the video about the aspects and things like that, so you can I encourage you to watch that if you haven't yet, if you want more details and more of an explanation of the aspects. But there's these beneficial flowing subtle aspects that we have, and that's what I want to lead into, is the awareness of the subtle energy. And then as we cultivate this awareness starting out the week, you'll start to see the things. You'll see the ways that they are showing up for you. So let's just take another minute or two with the intention here. I am aware of subtle energy. I am aware of subtle energy. We'll get ready to move towards our meditation. I'm looking in the comments. Hi, Kevin. Thank you for being here. It's good to see you here. Hello, everybody else, too. You don't have to comment. Just if you want to, you can, though. I will say hi back. So, all right. I'm going to take the intention off the screen here, and then we'll see our intentional candle. White, as always. Clarity and cleansing and creating a blank slate for you to bring in what you need this week. Coming into the beginning of the week, it's Sunday, it's the first day of the week. Many people will start their work week tomorrow. If you work a regular, like supposed regular Monday through Friday job. So we're starting anew, we're starting fresh. And what everybody needs coming into this week is different, because we all have different lives, we all have different charts, we all have different energies going on, we all have different environments and situations, right? So I'm going to light the intentional candle, and as I do so, I'm going to recite the intentional phrase, and I encourage you and invite you to say it with me in any capacity that you are able to, whether that's out loud, whether that's in your head, whether it's writing down on a piece of paper. I always write it down on a sticky note that I keep right by my computer, so every time I look at my computer, I see the intention. And that starts right here with bringing it to our meditation and keeping it right here with the card that I have drawn. That process starts here. Okay, so I'm going to light the intentional candle, and we start. Flame ignites. As the flame ignites, it begins to grow. As the flame grows, so does our intention. I am aware of subtle energy. I am aware of subtle energy. I notice things, I feel things, I see things, whether they are loud or not. And sometimes it's those ones that we have to look for, those moments that really are the most profound. Sometimes it's not the loudest, it's the quieter ones, right? All right, so if you haven't already, I invite you to find a nice comfortable position to sit with me in for just a little while here. Whether you want to sit cross-legged, whether you are laying down, whether you are sitting in a chair, find a place that you are comfortable. If you have any last little fidgets or wiggles that you need to get out, feel free to go ahead and do that. If you need to walk around or stretch your legs or whatnot, get a drink of water, any of that, feel free to go ahead and do that now or at any time. That's the benefit of doing this virtually together, but independently in our own space. We can do whatever we need to do in the moment. All right, I'm going to take a nice deep breath as we start to shift gears here. I am aware of subtle energy. I am aware of subtle energy. If you haven't already, I invite you to go ahead and close your eyes if you feel ready to do so. If you don't quite feel ready to close your eyes and settle as you are settling into your space, then I encourage you to just allow your gaze to fall where it falls, not focusing on anything, one particular thing specifically, but just maybe gazing slightly beyond whatever the object is that your eye falls upon, whatever that means for you. And slowly, maybe your eyes start to get heavy, and maybe eventually your eyes begin to close as we come into this space. Let's begin by bringing our focus to our breath. When we first arrive and bring our awareness, we start to see the energy of our breath. Let's begin by not changing or altering or expanding the breath, but just noticing, acknowledging, and honoring the level of energy that we have come here with today. And by that, we honor and acknowledge our breath. As you bring your awareness to your breath, you start to notice the quality of it. You may feel inclined to start to change or alter the breath. You may feel inclined to start passing judgments on the quality of your breath, whether that's in a positive or a negative sense. But I encourage you to do your best to remove any sort of judgment or any alterations of your breath for just a moment. Here, let's just sit with where our breath is at in this moment, noticing, acknowledging, and through that, honoring. Sitting with our own subtle energy that perhaps we didn't even notice before we brought our awareness to it. Our breath, as long as we are alive, is always there, always supporting us, always functioning and keeping vital processes in order. Now, after we've taken a moment to sit with where we are at this moment, we begin to ever so slowly deepen the breath. As we begin to deepen the inhale, expand the exhale, I encourage you to set a small goal, a small, subtle goal. Here, I encourage you to strive to have each breath expand slightly more than the one that came before it. So within that, as you take in each inhale, allow your only goal to be that the inhale brings in slightly more air and is slightly longer than the inhale that came before that. And on the exhale, allow your goal to be that each exhale releases slightly more air and is slightly longer than the exhale that came before that. Breathing slow and steady as we start to settle into this space, getting a little deeper into our breath and also a little deeper into our own subtle energy body. Deepening the inhale, deepening the exhale. But at any time your attention and your focus begins to wander away from the breath, you begin to think of other things. Just slowly and gently bring your attention back to your breath. Nice and easy. Even if you have to do it 100 times every couple seconds, that's okay. Slowly and gently, remember where you are and remember where the focus is. The focus on the awareness of the subtle energy within your own being and your own body. As you deepen your connection with your breath, notice what changes you notice within your body, within your being, within your mental sphere, within your physical, spiritual body. Noticing any subtle shifts or changes. Notice any tension that arises, anywhere where the breath may feel stuck. This week, as we enter the month of May, the first full week of May, we start the month with a shift. A shift insofar as there has been so much going on astrologically. So many different paths, timelines, different cycles all conjoining and convening, working in their own way while interacting with each other at the same time, multiple levels. Here we start off the week, we start off the month with two beneficial yet subtle, quick-moving aspects. Both Venus and Mercury are moving quicker than they have been, recently coming off their retrograde period. Aspects are a little quicker moving than they have been lately for these planets, getting a little bit closer back to their own normal speeds. There is quick, helpful hands for both of these planets. Venus can reach into the depths of power, strength. There's will, there's determination. There's mental and physical fortitude. There's passion. There's information. There's depth and there's strength. Empower yourself this week. Pluto shifting inward through its long retrograde period that is just beginning. Where is that internal power? Where is that internal strength? And it's Venus. How can you utilize that to love yourself? Can you use the power within to reach deep because you care enough about your own desires, you care enough about your own peace and your own harmony to reach down deep and to find that strength and power. Meanwhile, Mercury meets Jupiter, Gemini, Mercury's own sign, the place of information and details, bringing in lots of thoughts and information. Our mind expands quickly, subtly, but it expands. It allows us to broaden our mind. It allows us to see things that we haven't seen before. Pieces of information, perhaps messages or little tidbits of wisdom come our way. Knowledge and information. What can you learn this week? What can you organize and find the flow mentally? What can you accomplish? Mercury is moving quickly. It shifts into the sign of Taurus by the end of the week, the place of Venus, the place of comfort, the place of practicality, stability, wanting things to be level, wanting things to be stable, to be balanced, to be harmonious, to be a place where you can be comfortable enough to sprawl out and expand from there. Yes, Mercury will start moving towards a conjunction with Uranus. But if you start to feel that coming through the end of this week into the beginning of next week, it'll still be subtle. It'll just be a growing energy. As we are sitting in this space of meditation, live on Sunday night, the moon is applying to a sextile with Jupiter and a trine with Mercury, giving us an extra nod towards that aspect this week. Mercury and Jupiter, the expansion, bringing in everything, the including, the one that's broad, and the one that's detail oriented, the one that's specific. The one that wants to look at teeny tiny details, and the one that wants to see the whole picture. you see the efficiency in that? The ability to broaden our mind while drilling down on the details. Where do you see that benefiting you this week? Is there an organization project that you have at hand? Is there a conversation that needs to be had? Is there something you've been wanting to say? Have you been listening to what others are saying? Is there something for you to learn? Is there something for you to understand? Is there another side? Is there another possible path or another way? Is there a beneficial tool that you didn't necessarily notice before, or didn't realize its full capacity? This week I encourage you to notice. I encourage you to find awareness of the subtle energies that are around you. How can you be more in tune to your environment, to yourself, and to others? How can you be more aware of your own body? Can you notice something around you that maybe you tend to take for granted or just expect that it's always there? And within that awareness, is there a level of gratitude? Is there a level of acceptance? Or some sort of flow that can come from that? This week I encourage you to stop, breathe, and look around you. See how far that gets you. Perhaps you notice a flow. Perhaps you notice an ease. Perhaps you notice that the 10 of Wands that you have been carrying, the burdens and all of the irons, all of the different projects, all of the busyness, all of the energies, all of the processes that have been colliding and coming together. Perhaps you notice a way to be able to pick up one at a time, or if it's multiple things that need to flow together, perhaps you notice a cohesive way in which they flow smoothly, allowing for efficiency, productivity, and comfort. As we bring this meditation to a close, I invite you to take a nice deep breath in with me. And bring my hands together. Breathing in slow and steady. Exhale. One more because that felt so nice. Breathing in and out. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That thank you is to you, but that thank you is also what I want you to bring into this week. I want you to find an awareness and an acknowledgement of the subtle energies that are around you. That can be different for everybody. That can be just noticing the small things around us, like the flowers that we walk by every day and we don't notice. That can be acknowledging the beauty of our life in its entirety. That can be noticing how well things are flowing and how well things are working for you this week. And even if there's a lot of busyness going on, that you have ample time and space, headspace. I want you to say thank you, or I encourage you to say thank you for the little tidbits and the messages that come through this week. Lean into that subtle energy and just see what pops up. This week, I want it to be more open. I want it to be a place of exploration. I want it to be a place of, I am aware of these subtle energies. What are those subtle energies? Because they're different for each and every one of us. Maybe it can be bringing a little more awareness to your breath. Maybe it can be bringing a little more awareness to your body and to its condition and caring for your body. That can be through nutrition. That can be through exercise and movement. That can be through resting. That can be for allowing yourself to get the proper amount of sleep and drinking enough water, and wearing the proper attire for whatever it is that you are doing that day. Just noticing those subtle energies and the way they flow, and just say, thank you, thank you, thank you. So, next Friday, you can look for next week's intention. Next Saturday, the weekly video will be out. If you have not seen this week's video, I encourage you to go ahead and look at that. A lot more details, a lot more. We look at the week day by day there, and we go and look at the moon transits as well as all of the transits, and there's much more deeper explanations. So I encourage you to look at that. Next Sunday, I am planning on being here at our usual time. However, I am traveling earlier in the daytime. So, yeah, I'm just throwing that out there because, I don't know, because I am. I debated if I was going to be here next Sunday and host the meditation, but I don't see, I enjoy this so much that I don't see a reason to not. So if anything is a little different or off or anything like that, I guess that's just just throwing that out there. Yeah, so happy week, happy May, and happy subtle energy. I will see you all next Sunday, and I hope you all have a wonderful, amazing, blessed week. So thank you, thank you, thank you.